Hey, what's happening YouTube? Thanks for tuning back into the channel today here with the Rustbelt Mechanic. Today we've got a brand new 2020 Jeep Wrangler Sahara edition in here. Now you might think, oh, bland white Jeep Wrangler. Every single soccer mom in the world looks and loves these all nonstop. But you know what? This one's a little bit different because it's got a diesel in it. That's right. We here on the channel, we absolutely love our diesels. This one's got the new 3-liter EcoDiesel motor in it, so we're gonna go through this one. A lot of you guys really love the review that I did on the Jeep Gladiator, so we're gonna give the review from the technician's perspective on this new Jeep Wrangler diesel. Now, just like in a lot of my other reviews, I am not going to be just sitting here reading off of the sticker sheet. If you guys want that kind of a review, you guys can go over to Auto Week or you guys can go and read the stickers yourself. I'm going to be going through this vehicle and giving you the perspective from the guys who have to fix this vehicle for the customer who wants to keep it for a long time. Give you guys some ins and outs on the technical aspects of it, the fitment of all of the interior, as well as all of the mechanical things in and underneath the car. So first things first, let's jump into some of the interior things. So hop on into our 2020 Wrangler here. Get a little light so you guys can see what we're doing. And like I said, this is the Sahara trim model. Pretty decently upscale leather, some heated seats. Nice silver stitching and everything here in the door panels. I really like when the Wranglers upgraded a couple of years back and went to some more of their refined interior things. I know they lost some of their Jeep base kind of guys, but really it is kind of a nicer ride. Now, all things aside, you're like me, you're 6'4", this is not going to be the comfiest ride in the world. This does not have a whole lot of leg room from this point to this point. It just doesn't. If you guys are used to the cars like the Chargers or Challengers, you're not going to have that kind of room, not that kind of a driving experience. So let's get this thing keyed on here. The nice Sahara. I do like the fact that it has the nice digital cluster. Really nice feature on that one. Has lots of options that you can click and go through. And as you can see, it doesn't have all the gauges for your diesel things, but it does have it in the instrument cluster. So your diesel exhaust fluid percentage is going to be in there. Your tire pressure values, obviously, these things have tire pressure monitors for everything on these newer vehicles. Temperatures for everything that you would really want and need to see, and your oil life as well. So pretty cool there. Interior on these is not going to be much different from any of the previous year's Wranglers or the Gladiators. They're pretty much all the same. This specific edition, obviously, we're going to have heated steering wheel, heated seats and all. Also has the auto stop start, which is going to be something interesting to kind of see when we go out on a test drive. I have not driven this thing yet, so that'll be interesting to see on how well the automatic stop start works on a diesel. I have not seen that on any of the Chrysler vehicles yet, so we're going to see how that one works on this one. Same shifter for the four-wheel drive and the automatic shifter. Cup holders. I like the silver inlay here on the emergency brake handle. That one is pretty nice. And this stitch dash, also really nice as well. Like I said, not a whole lot here on the interior that is to really speak of that's different from other previous model years. But I do always like the Freedom tops. Those are pretty sweet, like your good old T-tops. Take those off nice and easy without having to take the entire top off of the Jeep. Ouch. Boy, that jabs into your back. That's not real nice. Well, alright, well, get some light up in here. Hopefully, your driver isn't a real tall person and the back seat person is not real big, because I don't know if I could even close the door right on this one. So hopefully you're not looking for a whole lot of leg room or anything in these, because this back seat, standard Wrangler, if you got a tall driver and somebody else tall one to sit behind them, it is not going to function well at all. So just showing you guys that one. Does have speakers built up into the bar that goes across here. Very nice upgraded speakers, 4 LEDs that are able to shine in all different directions here in the center bar area. So that's pretty cool. But aside from that kind of stuff, standard regular interior. All right, let's move around onto the outside of the vehicle, kind of go over some of the outside features. Let's look at the sticker here first. If you guys really wanted to see the sticker on this one. Price $53,510. Pretty decent vehicle. Not really high option. You know, that 3-liter option is a $4,000 option, which is kind of crazy right there. 8-speed 8 HP 75 trans is not the big 8 HP 90 that would be in the SRT, but it's not a little 8 HP 60 like is in some other vehicles. So it does have that going for it. Got the bigger alternator, 240 amp alternator. Comes with a trailer tow package. Pretty cool there. 25 MPG combined, 29 on the highway. Wonder how close that actually is. Not exactly a fan of those exact wheels, but you know, there are like 7 different wheels that you can get for these things. Bridgestone dual AT tires, those are pretty nice, pretty well gripped all around. This one does have the easy entry lock and unlock from the buttons here on the front 2 doors. I also really like now that the Wranglers on these hinges, they make them easier for coming on and off. Before, they would paint these bolts right here. These are now not painted, so you don't have to crack paint open and worry about rusting and corrosion later on down the life of the Jeep. Front fenders and everything, same with the JL with the lights into the front side of the fenders. Little funny things that they like to hide into some of their panels. They've got a pair of flip-flops hidden into there. You can see your little Jeep logo crawling on the corner of the windshields. I think there was a couple of other ones hidden in the lights here. Like in the front lights, you can see your Jeep emblem with the little grill and stuff. You know, just little nifty things that they like to hide. Little Easter eggs that they hide into it. I like that the has the little silver inserts into the grille. Makes a nice little touch on that one. Overall, pretty nice little Jeep. You know, just kind of the same old white Wrangler and everything. But you know what? Everybody can see all of this outside of the vehicle, just watching everything else, or you can walk onto pretty much any lot and see these. Let's see what makes this thing so awesome. Let's jump in under the hood. Well, here's what makes this thing a little bit individual. It does have the 3-liter EcoDiesel engine. Now, this is not the standard 3-liter EcoDiesel that we're used to seeing out of like the Ram 1500s or the Grand Cherokees that we saw in the last generation. They have upgraded these slightly. So let's get this engine cover off so we can see underneath of it. You can see I'm using the new Milwaukee right angle impact, which is a pretty sweet tool. Definitely not a ratchet, still is an impact. New to the market. You guys will be seeing a review on that one soon. Get this thing off so we can see all the mumbo jumbo that's stuffed in under this hood. All right, so here is the crown jewel, the big old 3-liter beast, all stuffed in there in all of its glory. I'm seeing a massive conglomeration of vacuum lines, extra coolant tubes and hoses, T-fittings, PCV, oil catching, fuel lines, fuel rails. Gosh, it is stuffed on top of stuffed in here like nobody's business. The turbocharger on these stuffed way behind the engine, so not really looking too easily serviceable on there. You do have your charged piping. You've got your air that comes into your turbocharger in from here, out from the compressor, from on this side down into the intercooler, and then up here into the engine right here. Does have the little big E-clips that hold everything into the charge pipe tubing. So I do like those for serviceability. That is very cool. Now, the first thing that people are going to be asking on what is going to be here in the cost for the consumer is going to be your oil change. And that is going to be your very first thing that you are going to get white knuckled on. Now, the cost of doing an oil change on these, the oil filter is here on the right hand side. It is a cartridge style filter. The cost for a customer on that oil filter alone, $91.70. Whew, ouch. Then we got to look into what kind of oil does it take. Takes 5W40 oil, fully synthetic, of course, 540 is, and it's going to take 9 quarts of oil. Do the math out on that one. You're going to be racking right into about $200 for just your oil and your filter. That's no labor. That's if you do it yourself. How about that one? That's nuts. So if you're going to be taking this thing to a dealership for your first oil change and all of a sudden you see a bill for $240, well, that's the price of being a big bad diesel owner in one of these Wranglers right now. Now, how about some of the other maintenance items? Coolant's going to be using Chrysler's 10-year, 100,000 mile purple coolant. That is the OAT coolant. That one's running around $28 or so a gallon. So, yeah, right around there. But it's going to last quite a long time from the factory. Not a whole lot to worry about there. Air filter, must steal that from someone else because it's not really that expensive. This one's going to run you about 45 bucks for an air filter. So, not too bad there. Everything else in here doesn't really require a whole lot maintenance wise. This does run glow plugs. Your glow plug module is located here in the front passenger side corner. All of your fuse and fuse box things all in this smart fuse box module right here in the front hand side. It does use quite different fuses in there, so if you guys are looking at getting some spares and everything, it might come with one or two, but these are some definitely different fuses than your guys are used to being able to see. If you're looking for anything aftermarket when you're adding things on, Chrysler does give you quite a few different options on that one. Your positive and negative battery posts up here do have extra room in them for adding things onto that. So pretty cool there if you guys are looking at adding on, you know, everything that other Jeep owners want to add on, light bars or extra cubes or anything like that. It is easily accessible there on that side. Now, just like all other Wranglers, there are the 4 auxiliary switches located in the dash panel. And if you didn't know what you need to hook up to, right here beside the battery, there are 4 auxiliary output wires located kind of tucked into the side right here beside the battery. That is going to be the hookups for those. Has 2 lower amperage, 2 higher amperage outputs. I'll throw something up on the screen here for the wiring on those. All right, now we've got all of our goods pretty much covered under the hood here. Let's get this up in the air to give you guys a sense of what is in the after treatment system, all the exhaust, maybe some more of the fuel filters and everything that's going to be located underneath of this. All right, we're going to start here in the rear of the Jeep, just to give you guys some sight here. We do have our trailer tow package, so it does have the 4 and 7 pin connectors. And then this one here is going to be your DEF tank. Obviously, this one is very well guarded. Everything underneath of this Jeep does have skid plates, rock guards, steel coverings. It's not going to be plastic kind of stuff. DEF tank on this one is going to be a 5-gallon DEF tank, so there that one is. We do have our standard, what would be Wrangler Dana rear ends on this one. I like seeing that they kept going with those, so that's pretty nice. This one with the tow package does have the 345 gears, so going to be good in all-around gear set for towing and going down the highway. The tank, fuel tank, you're looking at like a 21.5-gallon fuel tank right here. Steel coverings along the whole underside of this one. We got rock guard steel covering underneath your transfer case. Does have the manual selectable transfer case right there. And then here is going to be your fuel filter. Obviously, having a diesel, you do have to keep in mind to swap out your fuel filter every once in a while. This one, I think the recommended length on this one is going to be about 15,000 miles or so. All you're going to have to do is pull off those 4 10mm bolts right there, and then you will have access to both the filter and the water separator on it as well. You're going to need to drain the water separator on it every once in a while, and that fuel filter, you're going to have to service that one, and it's not going to be that cheap either. As of right now, the fuel filter costs on these for the fuel filter and the O-ring kit for the cap on it is going to run you about 65 bones. So keep that one in mind when you do need your fuel filter serviced. Going forward, steel coverings, more cross member coverings for that 8 HP trans. Front diff here, again Dana style diff. It does nice that they do have a drain in the bottom of the case on these now, so you don't have to just suck it out of the one inside the front cover. They do have a drain for these for hopefully easier serviceability on them. We can see our motor mounts. Looks like more of a gel-filled active motor mount on that. I do like that one there. I don't like that they went that they got away from having double cardan joints on the front drive shafts. It does have just the CV at the transfer case side, so if you guys are doing any kind of lifts on these at all, that is going to have to be something that gets changed out real quick, would be that front drive shaft. Front diff lock on this one is going to be on this right side. Axle tube, electronic diff locks right there. And then our brake pads, we do have 2 piston calipers on these, and let's have a look which size that we have for the rear. I think it was just a single piston. Yep, single piston right there. As of right now, if you guys are going hard on your brakes, towing wise or anything like that, these pads are kind of on the costly side, coming in for the Mopar ones at like $200 for a set of pads, so pretty expensive on that one. All right, let's jump into this diesel exhaust fluid and exhaust system. Coming down from your turbocharger, you got the right angle bend there, got a couple of sensors as well as delta pressure for your diesel particulate filter, which is going to be the first thing you kind of come to. You can see the sensors and everything right inside of there. There we go, and then we kind of go into a flex joint, which I'm not sure why they go to a flex joint right there and then to a flange, but there it is. Another EGT sensor right here, right at the DEF injector. So these things are going to have all kinds of sensors and everything in the DEF system to be able to meet all of the EPA standards that these diesels have to run these days. And what other kind of sensors do you think that these things might have? Like I said, DEF injectors, you're going to have EGT sensors. Way back at the back, they're going to have everything from the fuel tank module into the back here. There's all going to be all kinds of sensors, from the level sensor for that. They're going to have the DEF quality sensor also in there, DEF pressure sensor. They're going to have the level sensor for the tank. All kinds of exhaust sensors. Anyways, joining back right from there, the DEF injector goes into your SCR catalyst. This big long thing right here is going to be your catalyst, and it is protected again by more heat shields. Thank you, Jeep, for that one. This sensor right here is going to be kind of like an oxygen sensor. It's called your NOx sensor. Reads your nitrites of oxygen gases. They are pretty costly. Those NOx sensors on a lot of other vehicles are running like right around $600 anymore, so pretty costly on there. It does have a valve right here in the exhaust. Now, unlike a lot of the other SRTs and specialty vehicles, this is not for tuning any kind of sound or anything for your vehicle. This is going to be to regulate the exhaust outflow for the secondary EGR. Yes, this vehicle does have 2 EGR systems, a high flow and a low flow EGR system. So this is going to cap off some of the output, so you have more low flow EGR after the point that you're kind of rolling down the road. So that is going to be the valve for that one. What I don't really like is it's got kind of an open to air area in here, and it is just a steel shaft going through. Living here in the Rust Belt, what can you expect that thing to do but corrode up? So not really looking forward to that one. And in speaking more about your low pass EGR, the low pressure side of it, this is where it gets it from. You can see the little tube that comes off right before your diesel particulate filter right up in there. That is going to be where your low pressure side of the EGR comes off. Obviously the high side is going to come off of the higher pressure area, right off of a manifold. So lots of emission system stuff on this Jeep. It is necessary to be able to meet EPA regulations, but boy, there's a lot of stuff to be able to go wrong on these vehicles. At the same time, these are not going to be your nasty, sooty, smoking diesels. These are going to be a very clean running diesel. But at this point, I'm not overly convinced about them, just because there's a whole lot of moving parts and lots of things that, depending on how these things are run and the fuel or the DEF that you put in them, could run a lot of little issues down the road. You do really need to make sure that you guys run good DEF in these things, because just like a lot of other EcoDiesels that we've seen in the past, if you guys are running crappy DEF in the system, you're going to plug up some lines, going to plug up your DEF injector. DEF injectors are not cheap either. Prior to, they were running like $700, so we're not going to want to get into one of them. So make sure you guys are running clean DEF that has a good date code on it. All right, out here on the test drive, and I'm not gonna lie guys, I'm kind of impressed by the pickup in this thing. Rated at 442 pound-feet of torque, it definitely has the get up and go that you're looking for in a sport Wrangler. I know a lot of the guys, they're looking for that low end torque, get up some of those rocks or take it off-road in places. And if you're looking for that low end torque, this one's gonna have it. Also, you're gonna be able to tow just about whatever you need in this. Small boats, small trailers, it's going to be able to do that a lot easier than if you had the direct injected 4-cylinder or the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. I really like the pickup and go from this one. Obviously, Wrangler standard, you've got the same kind of big steering that you're kind of used to in a lot of these other Wranglers. Unfortunately, it's going to have a little bit of slop here and there. So that's just the way Wranglers kind of are. It's a lot more refined than the Wranglers used to be back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but it does steer quite well down the road. It does have the electronic assist to it that makes it really easy going around corners. And like I said, after you get out of the corner, that pickup on this thing is just nuts. I love this one. When they introduced the 4-cylinder direct injected turbocharged engine, that one picked up quite a bit of torque as well as compared to the standard 3.6. And then this one just tops off the cake. You really kind of roll into it, and this thing has all the torque right away. The turbo lag on it is not there at all. Once this 8-speed transmission, which is fairly quick in its own sense, once it downshifts into where it needs to go, it does have that pickup pretty much instantaneously. There's not a whole lot of lag with the turbocharger on it. When I'm cruising along right around 45-50 miles an hour, country road driving, the MPGs on the thing say I'm getting right between 25 and 30 miles a gallon. So that is matching kind of what the sticker says, but you know, you can only match up to what the sticker says without actually going through a couple of tanks of fuel. I can't verify that one way or the other. Once we get driving on some of the rougher terrain and roads, this thing does pick up, you know, the little terrain, the little whoops in the hills. The suspension runs through fairly nice. Again, they didn't change a whole lot in the way of suspension with this one. This 3-liter diesel engine doesn't weigh a whole lot more than what the 3.6 liter did before, so not really a whole lot of change in that area. Cruise control and everything seems to work just fine. And then once we get into the corners here, let's see how this thing actually corners. I'm guessing like a standard Wrangler. Yep, we are rolling away. Body roll like nobody's business. No, it's really not that bad as well as some of the older Wranglers used to be, but you can definitely tell that this is a higher point of gravity on this vehicle, so you do feel the massive amount of body roll into some 90-degree corners. Acceleration takes over though right as soon as you get out of that corner. I just love the pickup on this one. I'm just one of those kind of acceleration junkies, I guess you might say, and this really feeds what you need in the way of that acceleration for a Wrangler. All right, we do have a passenger in the back seat back here, and as we did find out that the headroom in this thing is not so much great in over bumps and stuff. So going over a pretty large bump, yep, definitely just hit his head on the crossbar in the back. So one of the negatives for another one of those tall guy issues in the back of Wranglers, but we can't put that as a negative checkpoint on that just because we have, you know, clown car moments and trying to stuff large people into small vehicles. One of the other things that I was kind of worried about on this one was the start-stop functionality with this diesel. So we come to a stop and the motor shuts off. When we go to get back onto it, that's where we notice a lot of lag. So if you guys are sitting here towing a vehicle, especially if you're towing or if you're in some kind of a traffic situation, you have the start stop, which normally doesn't take a whole lot of time to be able to re-engage the starter, and the trans is already in gear ready to go. But in the case of this one, you've got the re-engagement of the starter, you've got the engine starting back up, and then you also have to pick the boost back up from the turbocharger. So you don't have any kind of great acceleration right off the bat when you're using the start stop feature. So kind of a little bit of a negative feature on that one. Another thing that I really wish that Chrysler would do is it would let you turn off the start stop function altogether. As of right now, there is a little button here in the dash that is able to turn the start stop feature off, but every single time that you get in and out of the vehicle, you're going to have to turn that on or off each time to how you want it, because it just standard sets it back to normal and turns on the start stop function each time the key is cycled. So what do we think overall about this Wrangler? I personally think that the $53,000 price tag on this one is kind of overrated for what it is. Yeah, I know I've seen a lot more expensive ones, some of the Rocky Ridge, the upfitted packages that are lifted and everything. Obviously, they have a lot more on them, but this one, just adding that diesel alone is just kind of an extra thing that, yeah, it's nice, but is it really worth that extra $4,000 or $5,000 option? I don't think it's there quite yet. Now, when you're going to be talking aftermarket modifications on this, I think you're going to be getting into the outrageous range for you guys who just can't leave well enough alone and keep things stock. When you're going to get into modifying these things, which I'm sure eventually they will, I think those are going to be absolutely ridiculous and very expensive to start doing, because there's just so many functions, so many features. This thing does run 2 EGR coolers, high pressure and low pressure systems, not to mention all of the DEF in the exhaust system. So you've got a lot of emissions related things that you would have to get rid of. So me personally, even as a diesel lover and a diesel enthusiast, this thing does work. If you're looking for a Wrangler to be able to haul your boat around or haul your small trailer and still be a Wrangler, that is where this one comes in definitely as a win for you. But again, you're starting with a Jeep or a vehicle that is in another bracket above a lot of the other ones. A lot of the other guys, when they start upfitting these Jeeps, they start off with a $30,000, $40,000, $38,000 Jeep, and then they can do their upfits from there. This one, you're starting off at that $53,000 Jeep, and then you have to start doing your modifications, your suspension, your wheels, your tires, your lights, which this one has all the same features as a normal Wrangler. It just starts off more expensive with the diesel engine. So for you guys who think that that might be within your price range and something that you are looking for, I think this would be a good thing, but I think this reaches just a smaller niche market, so I don't think this is going to be a really highly desirable Jeep. Yeah, you're going to get some of those enthusiasts right off the bat that are going to be like, yeah, I really love my Wranglers and I really love my diesels. Let's jump in on that one. But overall, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of purchasing going on right off the bat. Until they come down on the price a little bit on these, just to start off for some more base models, introduce some of the lower option, the sport lines with the diesel, then I think you might get a few more purchasers in on that line of it. But what am I? Just a mechanic, hopefully showing you guys a couple of more of the technical aspect side of these vehicles, giving you guys a little bit more of an inside look to the costs and the advantages and disadvantages on this Wrangler. Well, that's about all the information that we've got for you guys today. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on the bell notification so you get notified when I come out with cool, awesome content, just like this one here today. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and as always, you guys stay awesome.